Yo,
Hey,
yo,
what's up?
what
Can you
up?
hear me okay?
Yeah. Ah, y- you're like,
Got your password. You remembered your username. You're ahead of the game.
It's only because it's my cell phone number. That's the only reason why.
Oh yeah, I loved it when everyone's like about hiding their identity and everything. Once they came up with like fingerprints to like unlock my MacBook, I just need my fingerprint. Every time I create a password, it's like memorize it. I'm like, yeah. I usually have my hands with me. Like
Yeah,
super happy about that. Uh, and facial recognition. My face is with me all the time. So
it's always there. And people who are like, "Oh, I don't want the government to know." I'm like, my dad was special forces growing up. My shit was always bugged. I'm like, they've been on this shit for a long time. They already know who you are.
which is weird. I was listening to a podcast and it was this Indian guy was talking about he's an Indian comic, but he was born in I believe Pakistan, and he was saying that his dad and his grandpa they used to work on oil rigs and
hmm
they had cell phones in the '60s in India. He's like they were bigger, but I'm like you had them in the '60s, yeah. I mean that's I guess they weren't. I'm sure they weren't texting. You
It's
couldn't.
been around.
Yeah, but now we can send dick pics with them. So yeah, technology. We're not doing great things with it. and
No, we're not. Not at all. All this information, and we're still like Googling, like, I just want to watch cat videos.
yeah, like everything is going on. There's information. CDC is like sending out articles after articles, and we're just retweeting memes. No one knows. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
wash your hands, send a meme.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Or people are on it too. They're using like really weird like conspiracies. Like watching the like this is 5G conspiracy type shit is like wild.
But yeah, uh, this morning I got into the 5G rabbit hole, and I'm like,
Mhm.
no, no, we're not going to start here. Like usually, before we were told like once you have information, that's the first step to do something with it. But
Mhm.
we have a bunch
Now
of
it's
information,
overload.
and we don't know what to do with any of it. So we
Yep.
just like paraphrase it and then post it on our Facebook page. And
And then people take it for truth without researching at all.
oh yeah, what's been going around? It's been retweeted over 120,000 times that Trump said people are dying now that have never died before. And although it is something that he would say, I looked, couldn't find
He
any
didn't
proof of
say
it.
it.
Yeah, he didn't say it. Yeah, but it's funny that they thought it could be something he would say.
I
Uh,
mean, it seems like something he would say. He says some wild, dumbass shit all the time.
I'm at the point where I'm starting to appreciate it for what it is. I'm like, I'm not here to argue with anyone or debate things. I'm just going to try to enjoy everything I can. But
Yeah, I mean, this is comedic at the very least.
you got to accept it. You got to accept it. But you are the five-time national champion, 2012 U.S. Olympic trials participant, first boxer to transition from female to a male, win a professional boxing match, the new face of Everlast Boxing Equipment, Patrico Peanut Manuel. Now,
Patrico, Patricio.
I've been saying Patrico.
You just call me Pat, dude. It'll
I've
be
always
easier for
called you
you.
Pat, but like
I know.
like like I called you Pat in 2011 or 10 or whatever. Like been Pat, but I also I know it's not peanut, but I didn't know how to say the ch word in Spanish, and I didn't want to butcher my intro. So
Do you want to redo it?
no, you just tell me what it is. What's your how do you pronounce it?
The
You,
peanut?
yeah,
It's cacahuate.
yeah. Glad I didn't try. Glad I didn't try.
Patrico cacacate manual. There you go. Just do that.
Pat. You didn't want to change your last name?
Nah, I didn't care enough. Like
No.
honestly, there's nothing else I could think of. Like,
Awesome was
yeah,
taken.
I always like to keep it because it's like it's my dad's name, and even though we're not in contact with each other, it serves as a reminder to me that like we were slaves, like we were straight up owned. Because people will ask me about my last name, they're like, "Oh, that's an unusual name." I'm like, "It's French or Portuguese." They're like, "You don't know?" I'm like, "Yeah, slave trade." They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
slapped a name on it, so I'd like to have that reminder.
Yeah, just never forget. Your ancestors used to work hard for minimum wage. the
Yeah,
minimalist of wages.
for literally built this whole country for free and then died at like 21 years and had a shit ton of babies in between, you know.
Yeah. Well, the catchphrase for America is not as catchy, so we have to go for land of the free because land of
Yeah.
the land of the of genocide and slavery is not as catchy. But
It's a downer. No one likes to think about that when they're thinking about American Pie.
yeah. Oh, I was thinking about the American eagle as our country's animal.
Mhm.
Birds are rats with wings. Why don't we?
They're cool looking though.
They're
I
only
also
cool
like
looking
rats
because
though,
they're
so.
rare. Rats are scary.
I like rats. I appreciate them.
Don't even like hamsters. Don't even. Yeah.
You don't like any rodents.
No, or lizards, or snakes, bugs, insects. Yeah. All right. We'll jump into this.
As we get sidetracked.
yeah. Always sidetracked. So I guess you've transitioned from female to a male, just so everyone knows, and that's why I asked you if you didn't want to change your last name because you changed your first name, and did you change your middle name?
I actually got rid of it.
Oh, okay. You didn't like it, or was it cool?
Yeah, it was named after my grandma, and I just was like, I don't need a middle name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My grandma was Iris, so I don't think that's such a cool name. Nice lady. She's really
Mine
into
was
puzzles.
Jean.
Jean?
Yeah, Jean. But I'm like, it's cool. Like maybe if my nickname had been PJ growing up, I would have kept it. But
yeah. PJ would be cool. Or you could go with Jean.
Yeah,
So it's more
could
like
have gone with that, but
you don't even need a middle
didn't
name.
happen.
My middle name's just F.
Exactly.
So, but you, so I love when boxers are passionate about boxing, but I love it even more when they're passionate about boxing, but they don't allow themselves to be defined as simply as a boxer. And you are one of those boxers. So I would say you're a fighter in every sense of the word, from, fighting in your actual combat sport, fighting for respect as a trans boxer, fighting in the name of trans people, and fighting for the voiceless children of sexual abuse with your partner. How do you find the time in the goddamn day?
I think that's still always the question, and I feel like I'm never doing it right, especially since my mind's not really good about shifting tasks. Like I'm like kind of all in or nothing, and that's actually been interesting with this recent pandemic. Is I'm kind of forced to remove myself from like thinking about competition only, because now it's just we have no clue what's going on. So now I can actually put more of my time into doing what I was doing when I was waiting to box, when I was transitioning, which was like normally helping people with kind of strengthening their connection with their body and healing trauma from their body using physical practices. So kind of at a point where I'm like, well, I guess I'll go back into more of like my heart work since boxing's on hold. But I don't know how to handle my schedule for shit.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm like, when I got into public speaking, I was like, okay, my goal, like when I was boxing, my goal was I want to be the most active boxer around. And in 2014, I had 49 fights in that year. Like, when I got into speaking, I'm like, I was in the National Speaker Association. I booked more speaking engagements than any other speaker in America. Like, that's how, but I don't know how to do two things. I can't even do two things at 10%. I could do one thing at 100%. That's it. But I'm like, so I'm pretty open about being vegan and all that, but I hate speaking about it publicly because I know enough to make myself comfortable, but I don't know enough, I feel like, to speak on behalf of all of the vegans in the world. Do you feel like you have an obligation or any extra pressure on you to speak on behalf of your entire social movement?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is an extra pressure. I also think like it's also one, we're familiar with, because when you're black, like you speak for all black people, regardless if you want to or not. You do something bad, you shame the black kind.
But I do, like when I see a white person or a Spanish person do something like embarrassing or they're being ghetto, I don't think twice about it. But when it's a black person, I'm like, come on, man, we got to do better. Like, because I feel responsible I feel like I connect with them. That's so like, yeah, I expect more from my people than anyone else.
Yeah. And I think there's also the reality of like, because of the anti-blackness in this country, black people, even light skinned ones like me, we're held to a different standard and we're constantly put under surveillance of like all our behavior being critiqued. So then we have this obligation of like wanting to be respected. So then we fall into respectability politics, which I've worked a lot to undo because I'm like, I
Respectability
don't
politics. What does
represent.
that fall under?
I mean, like the assumption that like to be a good person, especially as a black person, is means you can't act ghetto, right? Like you can't act up. Like we have these extra expectations where a white person can do that, and that's just that one white person. No one thinks like, oh, the white race is completely like foolish based off of this. But we're always combating, still the minstrel stereotypes from, the early 1900s from slavery of that we're still thought of as beasts of burden, essentially. So we're still to this day, to quote Wilder, still having to
Till this
undo
day.
that. It's true though.
I feel
It's
like
true.
Reda
We're still
Rahim.
having to do it.
Yeah, I that never really like. I always obviously know that I've been black my entire life. But what it really drew my attention is when I became an adult and I started to see black moms, like especially like going to schools or speak or defend their kids or be not even a helicopter parent, just be more involved than a normal mother. Because most like mothers in the
You're
hood.
frozen there for me.
Oh, sorry. Is it better?
It's
You got me?
a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Can you see me and hear me fine?
Yeah, I see. Hear you perfect.
Oh, weird. I'm right near my Wi-Fi too.
Oh. So,
All right, go on.
oh yeah. So, like when I see black moms who like go in schools and they speak, they're not helicopter parents, but they're more involved than the normal single, like inner city black mom. Because usually a lot of times it's like a single mom. She's always at work. It's hard for her to go into school and take time off. But when you see one of those moms, and I see the way that like the teachers, the staff, they kind of treat the black moms who are trying to be extra involved, that hurts. And and it's difficult because it's not something you could point out right away and show everyone. It's something you have to observe over time, and it kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and then it looks like, oh, you're just trying to pull the black card, and that becomes frustrating.
Yeah, it's like, how dare we name the harm that's actually been done to us forever? Like literally the creation of a race of people in this country context. And then if you acknowledge it, like, oh, you're part of the problem. I'm unapologetically black. Like whether, especially as a mixed race, light skinned person, for me, saying that I'm black is a political statement because I could do what some people try to do and be like, oh, I'm mixed. Like, I'll let you guess what I am and then try not to say it. But it's like, no, like when the police pull me over, they still write black on my race. Like that still happens. My father is black. Like I'm not going to dodge away from like, this is where my ancestors come from. And in a context of the United States where the one drop rule literally means that you're black, like I'm claiming it. I'm black. I'm of African and Irish descent. This is who I am.
Yeah, I would claim you as first of all, you put a little bit of chocolate syrup in milk, it's chocolate milk. No matter how much syrup you put, it might be some weak ass chocolate
and it
milk.
makes It better.
Yeah, and also, I want to take full credit for Obama. So yeah, you're on our train. Sorry, the black delegation chooses you.
I'm totally fine with. I'm not even trying to step out of it. I'm like, I've been saying it for a long time. Like it's who I am. And then there is the extra burden of now. Like I'm black and I'm trans on top of it.
You're black. You're trans. I mean, you're checking all of the diversity boxes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I am like affirmative action, wet dream.
Oh my God! It's we're like. Now that I look back at it, Real World Road Rules, all those TV shows, The Survivor, all those reality shows, they had an all-white cast except for one black girl, one black guy, and a gay person. And sometimes the gay person was the black person. You can cover all that. It would just be 6 strangers in the house and you cover all of the diversity checkpoints. Being that you are that diversity person, have you connected with many trans fighters or fighters that are transitioning in different combat sports or physical sports? And when you do, what advice do you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Fallon Fox is probably the most well-known trans combat athlete. I mean, she's alive. Fallon's still alive, but she's no longer competing. She was an MMA fighter who was forced out, and she's a trans woman, so she came under a ton of hate and scrutiny. So I knew her and came out publicly for her before I even transitioned. I know there's a number of trans boxers out there on the down low because they message me, especially after I fought. Like I get a lot of messages from people, and a lot of people do ask me like, "Oh, what's your advice?" And I don't sugarcoat it for them. I'm like, this is the reality. This is a hard sport. Like this isn't a sport where you can expect people to just suddenly bend over backwards for you. This is a sport where heart knows no gender, and if you work really hard, you're able to get your place. And I tell people, like, if this is something you want to do, know that it's going to come at a cost. Like it came at a big cost for me. I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I couldn't live my life living a lie anymore of being a female boxer, even as I love boxing as much. And the price I paid was, I lost my original team. I was out for a long time. I've barely been able to fight. I lost 6 years of my prime, but for me, like, it was worth it. Like I was willing to pay that price to be who I am today. And I get to look in the mirror and actually be happy at my reflection and feel like I've taken the path for my own life that felt right for me. So I always tell other people, regardless of what you're doing, like you need to figure out, like, is it going to be worth the sacrifice? Because everything worth doing in life requires some huge sacrifice.
Yeah. Who you telling? I totally understand that. And I have some questions, and I don't know if this was a situation with Fallon, but throughout the trans movement. Okay, you were the first person I knew before and after their transition that I was comfortable enough to ask any question I had without like feeling judged. And like right now in the time of, and I want to be respectful of everyone's like whatever you want to be called, I'll respect it. I might call you Patricio by mistake, but for the most part, my heart's in a good place. And I remember I reached out to you and I was like, when the bathroom issue was going on and people were talking about pronouns, I reached out to you and I was like, what do I call people? And at first I was confused by your answer. You're like, whatever you want. Like you didn't seem to care. And I love that because I got that response from you. I felt comfortable asking questions without being judged. Are you the person that a lot of people go to ask their dumb questions?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially in the boxing population, which is primarily, cisgender, aka people who aren't trans, straight men of color. And I feel like I am more than willing to be that person that helps educate, because for a lot of people, having that population ask them things is really triggering. For me, it's not like you're my people. Like I am you. Like I just happen to be trans. It's the only difference. But I'm like, I'm a straight dude of color. That's it. So I'm often that person that population comes to and is like, hey, I'm really trying not to fuck up. Like, I just want to ask you bluntly, how do I not do that?
Yeah. And so here are my dumb questions.
Right.
These are something like I actually put some thought in, because I realized I spoke up on this a couple times, like on Twitter, and I gave my opinion, but I realized I didn't give much research on my opinion. And I didn't realize how, for example, I was watching, Netflix had it shows categories, and it was like LGBTQ films. And I was just like, I'm not going to watch it because it was like independent movies and stuff. But I was like, how awesome is that like those people have their own like genre? Because before like they would get like one gay person on like an episode of something, or that stereotypical gay friends. But for you guys to have actual shows that show more than the flamboyant gay guy who gives advice to his female friends about dating. Did you watch Schitt's Creek?
I just started watching that recently, actually.
The guy, hilarious. The guy in it who's you don't know what he is really in the beginning.
He's he's pansexual though, and it becomes clear.
Like usually, I he's second favorite character. Myra is my favorite, but I like that he's not the. And I want to no spoilers. but he gets into dating and he gets into a situation and he explains it. And it's just as if someone would explain it to me, where I'm like, don't really get it, but whatever makes you happy. And I love that they actually put that in there instead of like that PBS BS that they usually kind of put out there. So it was like real issues. Now, knowing that it's great to have, trans people represented by you, the younger trans people who are transitioning earlier in life, how do you propose a solution to the issue with like males going to female, transition to female, and then like breaking world records?
Yeah, well, I think it's been interesting because I've had a number of conversations. I've actually had a number of people in boxing reach out to me and be like, hey, I really respect you and I really want your opinion because I'm seeing so much hate and I feel uncomfortable and I want a more informed take on how I should respond. And I think there is this narrative that let's say trans girls, because these are kids. Like most of the people who are falling under this are literally children. Are shattering world records. They're not shattering world records though. Like they're losing too. Like there's losing and winning. People focus on like when they have one exceptional race, but never the overall career arc of them. And it's not like trans people have been involved in sports. I think the IOC made their policy in 2004. How many trans Olympians have you seen?
First time that's ever been brought up to me.
Yeah, none.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like, it's a very small population and people are acting like this will destroy female athletics. But it's like we literally know we're watching it happen. There isn't like suddenly trans girls are taking over every single female sport. They're winning and losing in sports and they're competing at the same time. And I think we really need to examine why are we, particularly focusing only on trans female athletes and not really much on trans male. We get kind of brushed aside, not saying we don't also experience that, but most of the narrative has been around like, let's protect girls and women in sports, coming from people who don't give a fuck about women's sports in general.
Yeah.
So I find it very laughable they're using this agenda.
Yeah. You got a shout out on the Joe Rogan podcast like a couple months ago, and they did bring that up about they only speak about the males transition to females, and they rarely speak about the females transition to males. And someone brought you up, and like you won a professional fight against a man, like, but no one's. It seems like no one's concerned with the people who transition to males. I'm okay. For example, Dwayne Wade, which I love that. I love that he's who he is, especially because he's a manly man, but he also has his feminine tendencies, and like maybe I don't even know if it's feminine tendencies. He's a great dresser. He's stylish.
Yeah, he's stylish.
Yeah. So I don't know why that in my head it was just like feminine tendencies, but when his son transitioned to his daughter, like he came out and he was pretty public about it and supportive, which I thought was awesome. And not because like I want a trans kid, I don't even want a kid, but I like that a strong black man could stand proudly next to his daughter that transitioned without feeling ashamed. Because like growing up in the hood, you kind of like I always was told that like being gay is bad and being lesbian's good, and so it was cool to kind of see that. But Dwayne Wade's daughter is pretty talented basketball player and will likely be larger than most human beings. She'd kill in the WNBA at this rate. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know how talented she is, but it's like people like that, because already there's a physical advantage of just being larger than everyone else. Nothing you can do about that. But like high school basketball, I guess I'll be okay with. I don't see a problem with non-contact sports, but I think the contact sports should be. Do you believe contact sports should be governed a little bit more with the trans athletes?
I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have a complete answer, mainly because there's so much diversity within people in general, regardless of what they think their perceived sex is. I mean, have you ever had your chromosomes tested?
No.
Exactly. None of us have. So we actually have no idea. Like there's a mass diversity in biological sex. It's never just black and white. The thing is with the conversation around young trans female athletes is that there are heavy restrictions. Like there's heavy restrictions on me as a trans male athlete that I'm very heavily monitored. Trans female athletes are even more monitored. So what's happening usually when these young girls are competing is they're put on hormone therapy, they're put on testosterone blockers. They aren't developing in the same way that a cisgender male assigned at birth boy develops through those cycles. So it's not the same as like, oh, I'm going to be pretending to be a girl, not be on these blockers and continue to like basically go through puberty and as a male assigned at birth person and be larger than life and physically stronger. They're held on such requirements that trans female athletes cannot produce any testosterone. This actually puts them at a negative place in athletics than cisgender women. Like I create testosterone. Every woman creates testosterone, or every female athlete creates testosterone. So they're literally held under massive scrutiny and penalties, even to the point that I think it's detrimental to their health in the long run.
There was a situation with that. There was I believe a black female runner, a track star, that was naturally producing too much testosterone. She was born a female, and they made her take blockers.
Caster Semenya. That's an intersex athlete.
Oh, what? I'm sorry. What's? I don't know what intersex is.
Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I just don't know what intersex athlete is.
So I was going to explain that. You froze. You froze on me. So intersex athletes are also a huge part of the equation that we're not discussing, and people are saying like Caster Semenya, who was a South African 800-meter sprinter, and this whole situation was actually terrible. So this started because she was beating people, and I'm going to name it as it is. Some white woman who was not even getting near her times said she's a man. And because of that, that enforced gender testing, which to me is incredibly problematic. No one would have even looked into it. Wasn't it a white woman basically saying that a black woman looked like a man? And we know in the United States, like blackness, unfortunately, is not associated with femininity. Even Michelle Obama gets called a man. Even Serena Williams gets called a man. Two incredibly feminine black women, because blackness gets associated so much with masculinity that women can't even be seen as women if they're black. So that's what started this. Then the testing started rolling that she hormonally had some differences, and they basically outed her as an intersex athlete, which is terrible to do. And there became this whole play. And intersex means that you basically, you remember that term hermaphrodite people used to use?
Yeah.
That's what an intersex person is.
Oh, okay.
That's the actual term to use instead of hermaphrodite is to say intersex. So and it's never even just usually like a 50-50, you have male and then female. It's usually like there's so much diversity within it.
Yeah.
And there are some studies showing like maybe the 1 in 100 births are actually intersex, or at least chromosomally variant of each other. But that's neither here nor there. And that's what required her to undergo all this scrutiny and testing. And so the International Track Federation made a rule very recently that athletes in, I think it was 400 to 150 meters, cannot have natural testosterone for female athletes unless they go under blockers. So you're basically telling someone who is naturally this way that they have to be on something which may cause them actual harm health-wise. If we're thinking about athletes also as people, this will also impact her overall health in order for her to compete. But there are also intersex athletes competing in the 100 to 200 meter sprints, but they're fine. They literally made this ruling specifically going for Caster Semenya.
Oh, okay. I can't support that then. Like, because that'd be similar to saying like, all right, Yao Ming's too tall. He has to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And test the men then. Start testing the male athletes. You're going to find there's a lot more intersex athletes in general among both. They only test female athletes. They don't test the male athletes for gender testing, as they call it, which is supposed to be illegal.
Oh, that's actually something that I never even thought to think of. Okay, on that subject. So as someone who transitioned, what has your training style and your fighting style changed through the transition? Uh,
My style changed a little bit. Because I mean, you remember the way I used to fight in the female division. I
yeah,
was just like, I was the fucking tank. Like
yeah.
I was
Just
just gonna
everyone's
cruise.
gonna get walked down.
I had one mode, and that was just like throw as
Forward.
many punches and break people down and walk forward.
You
That
might be
doesn't work
half
as
black, half white, but you were Mexican in the ring.
exactly because all my teams have been Mexican, so that's the way I fought. In the male division, though, I understand like it's not. I feel like when we say it this way, because people then try to do are female athletes weaker than male athletes? I don't think it's necessarily that way. I think for female boxers, their career path was the Olympics, and that's it. So they were all looking to score punches, make it obvious. Male athletes are like, nah, I'm going to go to the pros, so I'm going to try to hit harder.
Is that why I fight like a woman?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because
Maybe you're just in touch with your femininity.
that's what it is. Hair flip.
You also knew that you never wanted to turn pro.
Yeah,
So
and that's why I got adapted to the style. I was like, okay, I know what I'm here for. So
exactly.
Do you believe the female fighters should, in the amateurs, fight with headgear or fight without headgear alongside the
Why
males?
without headgear? I don't understand why there's any difference. Like it's not like we know we're watching what they're doing. If the male athletes are fine getting punched in the face, then why can't consenting female athletes also get punched in the face without headgear?
Yeah, I would be against like a male punching a female without a headgear, but if it's females punching females, I I see it pretty even. I don't see a difference of why the males can't. If the males can
Yeah,
punch
what's
the
the
males,
deal?
yeah. But has any of your,
Yeah.
I guess, since you are transitioning to professional fighting, so transitioning from the pros to professionals and from female to male, a lot of transitioning going on.
Yeah.
Do you you have to change your style to fight, but have you incorporated more weightlifting, more strength and conditioning training, and become more of a power fighter? Because you were before, you still strong before.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like in terms of I kind of do the same thing I used to do before. Like I did strength training before. I still do strength training now. I'm not huge into weightlifting. Like I don't do any sort of bodybuilding. It's more like athletic, strength based. That actually really helps with preventive injuries. The biggest thing I've done recently is I took out running because I have a bad hip, which is what kept me out pretty much all of last year. So that's more the adjustments I've had to make is my own body being like, nah, like you can't keep running on pavement over
Chill,
and over.
chill, bro. Sit down.
Yeah, it forced me to sit down. It forced me to sit down pretty hard last year.
uh, did you switch it out for, let's say, swimming?
Yeah, swimming, and I just got a fan bike as well. Do jump rope, shadow box, and do more bag drills like for conditioning.
I like the fan bike. I just don't like the fan.
It is annoying, actually.
Do they need to make it like that? To make it
I wish there
resistant?
was like a cover over
A
it.
cover and like just a tube at the back for the air to go out behind you or something. Yeah,
I'm there with you with that.
I sweat a lot, and when you wear a wet shirt and you're hit with cold air, it's freezing.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
agree.
soaked through my shirt. So yeah, definitely not a fan of that of those. And I don't like swimming because my hair and also my coordination and
That makes sense.
my lack of ability to swim.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the biggest hindrance right there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like not being able to swim that well.
I could doggy paddle like a motherfucker though. Uh, so you fought in amateurs for you had a pretty extensive amateur career, and I don't think many people understand the plight of being a full-time amateur athlete who's like traveling the world, and like we went to England a few times for like a month at a time, and people see you traveling the world and they see you taking pictures from the Eiffel Tower and doing all that, but they don't realize that we don't make any money.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. The men were making $1,000 a month. The females weren't making
We
any
didn't make
money.
you shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'll give you a plane ticket, and you guys like 17 people could share a hotel room, but
Yeah, and they were like, "Here's your $10 stipend for 8 days in England." It's like, great,
Yeah.
that's not gonna buy anything. And then they didn't feed us lunch the whole time
Oh.
they were there.
yeah. I won big at the scratch offs out there. It was good, tax free too. England was a good trip for us.
It was a good trip. It was fun.
Yeah.
We became friends then. So
We did. We realized that we were interested in the same things in life.
yes, we were the weird ones of the group.
Yeah. So, what did you do to, I guess, stay above water financially while you're boxing?
I mean, I had a lot of hustles in general. Not all I'll go into, but for the most part, I was doing personal training on the side, and I also used to bounce at a gay nightclub.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I was doing that at the same time, and if you're ever at a club, like, be nice to the bouncers. It fucking sucks. It's a terrible ass job.
Oh, now that I don't drink, I hate drunk people.
Yeah, same. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but at least every so often, I get sick with the videos when I see like bouncers when they had enough and they just like tee off on a drunk dude. I'm like, it makes me uncomfortable to see, but pretty sure they gave that dude enough chances.
I usually am in the side of the bouncer because I'm like, dude, I know you'll ask people like a million times, and that's like the fourth person that felt that they were someone special and they didn't have to leave, and you're just like, I'm fucking over this. I'm done with this. Yeah. Especially all the slurs and the shit that gets thrown at you.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Especially people in gay clubs throwing slurs.
Oh yeah, drunk people are drunk people regardless of the reputation.
What I come to realize is when you're arguing with somebody, you say the thing whether you believe it or not. And I've learned the best way to insult someone, especially in a roast, don't go if someone has like a glass eye, don't talk about their glass eye because it's too obvious. Go for something subtle that cuts deep. And something that cuts deep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Calling the black person a nigga, calling the Spanish person a spick, like those things, whether you mean it or not, you know it will get under their skin. So I could see how drunk people would call other drunk people names as well.
Which always trips me out is when someone says that, knowing like if someone calls me, especially a hard R nigger, like that's it. I don't care who you are. You could be like an 80-year-old white woman. I will punch you in the face. Like it is ancestral rage, and then get surprised when they get hit and they're like, why did you hit me? It's like you knew you said the trigger word. Like you knew it. There's
a clip going around, a viral clip of this white lady called a black lady a nigger sitting next to her on a flight. Oh no, she referred to the flight attendant when he walked away.
Oh yeah, and he slapped her, right?
Oh no, the black lady who wasn't even involved spoke up as the way black ladies do, and dog walked that lady. The flight attendant, like that, she called a nigger, came up to help with the situation, and she was like, and the black dude was like, all right, and just walked off. I think they moved the black lady to first class.
I would hope so. Yeah. I would hope so.
Yeah. So are you still fighting professionally? Still fighting?
I mean that's been the goal. I've been, I was injured, and then that's the thing. Like this is difficult being the first. Like people, it's always interesting. It's always non-boxing people because boxing people know me. They know I've been here a long time. I get a lot of respect and love from the community. But these other people who don't know shit about boxing are always like, oh, you're doing this to be special. I'm like, that's why I spent.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. I've been doing this sport for half my life. I have never had like a normal teenage years or 20s or anything like that. I have all these amateur fights from as a female. Did the amateurs and the male and turned pro just so that I could be special. I'm like, I love this sport. Like, I love boxing. I know it's nearing an end for me. I would like to get a couple more in. Then this pandemic happened. So it's like, I don't know.
How's the pandemic affect you even outside of boxing? Because I know there's no way we could fight. There's no fights going on. And no one wants to fight in an arena without fans. So you might as well spar and post the video. How has this affected you business-wise and with other things you're doing outside of boxing?
Yeah, I mean, business-wise, I'm a personal trainer. I do online personal training. And even being in an online space, people lost their jobs. 18% of America lost their jobs. So I lost clients. That immediately, I took a financial hit, like right off the bat.
Domino effect.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I'll be able to get more. Like especially now people are like, oh, I don't even want to go out. Like an online trainer makes perfect sense to me. And people are realizing as they're forced to slow down, they need to work on their health. Like we've been stuck in this capitalistic ideals of like productivity equals success and realizing like we're getting sick. Literally we're getting sick. And now people are like, oh fuck, like I don't want to get this. And if I do get it, I don't want it to be bad. Maybe I need to prioritize like taking care of myself, which we should have been doing to begin with.
Yeah. I've I took this time to not take care of myself. I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm going to record 300 podcasts this week.
Well, maybe once you get out of it, be like, oh wait, right,
Yeah.
I need to not get sick in the
Yeah,
midst of all this.
Definitely take care of myself. Yeah, but my apartment complex gym closed. I hate running outside because it's cold.
Yeah.
Damn it. Anyway, who is your favorite female fighter and who's your favorite male fighter?
Favorite female fighter. That one's hard because I have so many friends that I would just probably
Skip that question.
Yeah, exactly.
Skip
like,
that question.
I'm like, I got too many friends, and if to any of them watching, I love you all. Like, just know, I love all of you. You're all my favorite.
Yeah. To the person listening, who you think you're my favorite, you actually are.
You are. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Male fighter. My all-time favorite has always been Archie Moore.
Oh, not me. Okay.
Sorry, Cam. Sorry,
okay.
Cam.
It wasn't Leroy. No.
My favorite amateur male fighter, though.
Hey. Archie Moore, old school fighter.
Old school fighter, the old mongoose. He has the most knockouts in the history of boxing. Guinness Book, never going to be beaten. He was also he's known for being like one of the oldest fighters until Bernard Hopkins. He was like into his 50s fighting.
Oh, no, that was before modern science. That's really old.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's an old school guy. He trained Muhammad Ali for a brief period and then fought him later.
Really?
Because he kicked Muhammad Ali out of his camp. Yeah. He was around a long time. I loved him because his story, and it's funny now, I don't know if it was something resonated with me or it has been part of my own journey. He wasn't given a chance to be a light heavyweight champion until he was 38 years old, despite being a contender for a long time because he was black. And like he's known for when he finally won the world championship, his corner was like going crazy, and he told him to stop. And they were like, "Champ, like you won." He was like, "Yeah, just pick my hand up. I should have won it a long time ago." And he was just like the epitome of perseverance. Like he knew he was a champion. He stuck with it for a long time. Could knock people out, but was a really intelligent fighter. Like really, really crafty.
Yeah, I admire someone who's crafty more than I admire someone who can knock a bunch of people out. Because, for one, I don't knock a bunch of people out. And since I don't have that strength, I admire the traits I have. I admire the traits other people have that I also have. So since he's a smart fighter, I'll like him.
Check him out. I think you would actually really like him. If you read about him, like he did some like really crafty, like making sure to move people into the sun when they were fighting outside,
Really?
would like talk to people while they were fighting to get them to think he was like a coach and would tell them to stop. And then he would hit them and drop them. Like he would do wild
petty.
shit.
Oh, he's petty.
Yep.
I like him.
Yep. You'll like him.
Does he have any fights in high definition?
No, they're all great.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was into the era, like he was old at the time when like Rocky Marciano was around. So like you can see some of his footage. Yeah. Like, he was around a long ass time.
Oh, dope. To wrap this up, how can people find you if they have any of their dumb questions for you or to follow you and watch you on your journey?
Best place is Instagram. I am going to be honest. I am really bad at being social in general. So social media makes it even worse for me. But try team_Patricio_Manuel at Instagram.
And I'll throw that in the description just so people can find you. Hey, thank you for your time. Though I know you have a lot of it. Try to do something good with it.
Same with you.
All right. Love you,
Good
bro.
talking to you, man. All right. Love you too, man.
Peace.
Catch you later.